Well, one thing for sure, there's never a slow news day. Have y'all noticed that? I mean, there's never a day where we just kind of get a day off and nothing really happens and we can all just kind of breathe and kind of relax. It's just a constant overflow. There is so much happening all the time that I find it sometimes impossible to talk about it all. It's like, damn, because I want to try to take it in and understand it the best I can. And there's times where I'm like, I need a minute because so much shit is happening at the same time. And then when Donald Trump is on trial, every day he's coming out talking about it's a crooked judge, a highly conflicted judge. This is a Biden trial. It's all a witch hunt. I did nothing wrong. And those clips get so tiresome because you'll say to yourself, wait, was this today or was that yesterday? Because it's the same thing. And after you see it for a while, your head will start to physically hurt. It's like, how can I wrap my mind around this? And just when you think it can't get worse with Donald Trump, it can always get worse because when he goes out on the campaign trail and has a rally, he's going to have people introduce him and they're going to say all kinds of off-the-wall shit. There's going to be people in the crowd doing and saying all sorts of off-the-wall shit. And then Donald Trump is going to come out and just hit you with as much batshit insanity as he can. So you know when he has a rally that your work is cut out for you. And I knew mine would be. So I called in backup, and I got my good buddy D. Knight here to break down the latest Trump rally and take you on this carnival of chaos, because that's truly what it is. Folks, go ahead and give D. Knight his flowers now. He truly deserves them. Go over to his channel. It is Pardon the Insurrection Podcast, and hit that subscribe button. And then, in the words of Hunter S. Thompson, buy the ticket and take the ride as he takes you through this ridiculous Trump rally.
President Donald J. Trump.
What a chump indeed. And this is D. Knight from the Pardon the Insurrection Podcast, coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, on behalf of Mr. Tennessee Brando. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, let's get him up to 200,000 subscribers. And it's been a roller coaster whirlwind week for Trump here, as we've had a porn star refer to his penile organ in court. That had to be a delightful experience for Trump there. He did finally make his way to his son's graduation. And he did know his name, but he didn't know his age. He got that incorrect, so that was quite the flub. He also solicited $1 billion bribe from oil barons, so that was quite a delightful development there. I assume, or at least I can only hope, the Department of Justice might want to open an investigation into that, perhaps. It's also been a rough and tumble week for Republicans in general, as Marjorie Taylor Greene. She failed to oust the Speaker of the House, Maga Mike Johnson, with the help of a few Democrats. So womp womp in her regard. Poor thing. You know, she's heartbroken about her lack of control over the Republican Party at this point. Also had Rudy Giuliani lost his job thanks to the WABC canceling his show. And it appears as though he's going to end up on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast. But Steve Bannon's having a rough and tumble time here as well, as an appeals court upheld his conviction. So he'll be going off to jail here for a few months pretty soon. So I guess it was probably the perfect time for Rudy Giuliani to join the podcast. It's quite a pairing. You've got one guy who's never had a shower, and you've got another guy who's totally washed up. Match made in heaven. But despite all of the fireworks taking place all across the landscape for the Republican Party, Trump did finally make his way onto the campaign trail. And well, I got to tell you, it's as wild and wacky as the rest of the week was.
If some of these wackos came along, you know, these liberal singers said, actually vote for me. You know, they all vote for me. They say, oh, Trump, I don't know. You know, like Bruce Springsteen. We have a much bigger crowd than Bruce Springsteen, right? Much bigger.
Wow, a New Yorker attacking Bruce Springsteen in New Jersey, trying to win an election. Not the smartest strategy there. Trump had a lot more to say than just points about famous musicians.
And as you know, I've come here from New York, where I'm being forced to endure a Biden show trial, all done by Biden. Carried out by rape.
Carried out by rape, huh? I'll let you guys try and make sense of that. But this prosecution in New York has nothing to do with the Biden administration. It's being brought by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's office, a locally elected official, has no relationship to the Biden White House in any way whatsoever. But don't you worry. Trump didn't forget about Alvin Bragg. No, he did not.
Carried out by radical Democrat district attorney. You know who he is? Fat Alvin. What?
It's always weird when someone who's extraordinarily overweight, who also lies about their weight, they make fun of someone else's physical appearance. Like, really? Have you not looked in the mirror? What are you doing here? It's just this guy. But he does attempt to make amends for commenting on Alvin Bragg's weight in his own unique and special way.
He was in there, and somebody from the front row said, "Sir, he's a fat pig." And I said, but nobody heard. The person was a nice person, but said very, I said, "You cannot call Chris Christie a fat pig. You cannot do that. Please, sir, if you call him a fat pig once more, I'm going to have you leave the arena." And the guy didn't know what was happening. I said, "Don't worry about it. I'm only kidding." But I said, you cannot call him a fat pig because you're not allowed to use the fat word. You can use almost any word, but you can't use the fat word. It's career ending. If you call somebody fat, it's career ending. We're all fat. Except for Lawrence Taylor and OJ, they're not fat. They're not fat. They sure as hell weren't fat when they played football, were they, huh? What do you think?
You know he's about to tell a lie when he's starting off a story with someone referring to him as sir, because it's immediately followed by some bullshit that we all know never happened. But Trump attacking Chris Christie is just a very asshole move here. Not that I'm a Chris Christie fan, and yes, it is Chris Christie's home state that Trump's giving the speech in, but in Trump's case, he's responsible for Chris Christie being hospitalized for a number of weeks. Thanks for infecting him with COVID without telling him he had tested positive. I mean, just Trump's that kind of asshole. And not to mention that, but pointing out Lawrence Taylor's in the crowd and giving him a good old shout out wasn't quite enough. He had to bring him on stage.
I just want to say, I grew up a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here. I'll tell you what, he will not have to worry about nobody in my family ever vote for a Democrat again, okay?
Lawrence Taylor, amazing football player. Also Lawrence Taylor smoked a lot of crack. Also Lawrence Taylor found him engaged in statutory rape of a 16-year-old girl. I mean, in the week in which your lawyers are arguing in court that you would never have an affair with a porn star or a Playboy playmate, the last thing you ever want to do is invite a child sex predator to join the stage with you on your presidential campaign. That was a terrible move, buddy. Don't know what you were thinking there. But back to that whole COVID thing I was talking about momentarily ago.
There's never been a time with jobs better than we had pre-COVID. And then when COVID ended, and we did a lot to end it, we did things, therapeutics, we did things that nobody else thought were even possible. And when it ended, you call that a bounce back. Everyone immediately then goes back to their job, or they get a new job, but you have a big bounce back. Well, we get credit for that bounce back. He doesn't get credit. He likes to take credit for the bounce back, but he doesn't really know what it means. Somebody wrote it for him.
That is Trump taking credit for everything the Biden administration did to help the country recover from the pandemic. His administration did nothing to mitigate the spread while he was in office, other than, tell you to inject bleach, which was fun times. He also didn't leave the Biden administration any kind of pandemic response plan. There was no vaccine rollout plan when Biden took office. In fact, Trump had lost like millions of doses of the vaccine before leaving office, somehow lost them. Right. And, having been hospitalized with COVID himself, he would barely suggest anyone else take the vaccine. But nonetheless, let's get to more comments from Trump at this rally.
Why people are hearing, our economy, his job numbers are fake. They're totally fake. They're fixed numbers. They're rigged numbers. Everything about them are rigged. From the elections to the economy, everything. And by the way, the one thing that's doing well is the stock market. You know why it's doing well? Because I'm leading in every single poll, and people think we're going to win.
That was Trump simultaneously claiming that the amazing Biden administration economic numbers are totally rigged, while also claiming that Trump himself is 100% solely responsible for the fantastic stock market numbers. Clearly, Trump, Mike Lindell, and Lawrence Taylor have all gotten together to smoke some crack. But here's Trump commenting on another individual that we know to consume a hearty amount of intoxicating substances.
I think they're fine. I think they're good. I think Elon, he's a friend of mine. He does a good job, but not everybody should have one.
Here's some pretty clear evidence that Elon Musk has shared some of his ketamine stash with Trump.
I mean, I was very popular. I got more votes than any other president in history. You know that. I got more votes than any other sitting president in history.
That was Donald Trump clearly not understanding how elections work, as actually President Biden was the one who got more votes than anyone in the history of a presidential election in the United States, and that's why he's in office, and Trump is not. But speaking of Trump not understanding how elections work,
and I believe because of it, and I'm way up in South Carolina. In fact, I had we had a little skirmish with the governor, and did we win by 40 points or 50 points?
Probably not a good idea to be attacking Nikki Haley or her constituents, as even though she's been out of the race for months now, hundreds of thousands of her voters are showing up in every primary election to vote against you. If they don't show up in November, you're probably going to lose and end up in jail. But speaking of Trump compulsively feeling the need to attack his political opponents, even though they're no longer running against him,
I could have pressed Hillary a lot harder. You know, she broke up her phone. She broke them up. She acid washed them. Bit bleach, right? Bit bleach. Nobody even knows what it is. So expensive. But I really thought, you know what? You got to have a country.
That's Trump saying he could have abused his powers as president to have the Department of Justice go after Hillary Clinton. Little known fact here, the Department of Justice, while Trump was president, investigated Hillary Clinton literally right up to the last moments of his administration. But let's hear how Trump feels about the charges that have been levied against him.
And I got indicted more than him on bullshit, too. Just bullshit.
So Trump thinks it's okay to go after Hillary Clinton, but when he's charged, it's total bullshit. I'm starting to see how this works in his mind. Well, in what other ways do you think Trump might decide to use his Department of Justice?
When I'm president, we will not allow our colleges to be taken over by violent radicals. And if you come here from another country and try to bring jihadism or anti-Americanism or anti-Semitism to our campuses, we will immediately deport you. You'll be out of that school.
If you don't like what's going on in the Middle East, I suggest you vote for Joe Biden, or Trump is going to have you deported there, legally or otherwise. And you might say, it's illegal for anyone to deport American citizens. I think Trump has a way around that.
We're going to give back our police. We're going to give them back the protection and the respect that they need. We're going to give them immunity so they don't get sued and lose their families, lose their homes, lose their pensions.
Well, that's exactly what we need. A man threatening the most insane possible shit if he's reelected president with his own private Gestapo with absolute immunity. And if you thought this speech couldn't get any worse than that, you'd be wrong.
I will also stop Joe Biden's sinister plan to abolish the suburbs. Kids are occupying your schools. We're going to evict this man, the worst president by far. Jimmy Connors is good. He's also happy. Jimmy is a very happy man, both of them, because you know what? They want him out. Jimmy Carter, you must never forget this nation does not belong to this. Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen a Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner as this poor doctor walked by. I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter, congratulations.
The late, great Hannibal Lecter. This man is rooting for the serial killers. The next thing you know, he's going to be telling us that Jeffrey Dahmer should have been America's next top chef. This man's clearly insane. We can't let him anywhere near the White House. So do what you have to do to show up in November and vote for Joe Biden to make sure this country is not subjected to yet another tragedy. And if you enjoyed this video, I can only assume you were probably smoking crack right there along with Lawrence Taylor. But if you want to make sure Trump loses in November, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's help Brando get up to 200,000 subscribers. And hit the thumbs up button because it helps you out the algorithm. And feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And also, if you could, you can find me on my personal podcast, available everywhere podcasts are found, and also on YouTube. The name is Pardon the Interaction.